Bill Cosby has been sentenced. He's been sentenced to 3 to 10 years, and his bail has been revoked. And so this has to do with the case involving Andrea Constand, who was an employee at Temple University. Cosby was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison for drugging and sexually assaulting Constand at his home 14 years ago. The judge, Stephen O'Neill, was very opinionated in handing down the sentencing. He said that this is a serious crime. Mr. Cosby, this has all circled back to you. The day has come, the time has come. O'Neill also ruled that Cosby will be classified as a sexually violent predator, a determination that requires lifetime registration, lifetime mandatory sex offender counseling with a treatment provider, and notification to the community that a sexually violent predator lives in the area. Now, Cosby is 81 years old. And so that is relevant given the rehabilitative efforts that will take place here. But I just want to note what his spokesperson said. His spokesperson, Andrew Wyatt, said, "This is the most racist and sexist trial in the history of the United States."
I'm pretty sure it's not the most racist or sexist trial in the history of the United States. Have you read any history? Right. I don't know what happened in the trial that he thinks is sexist, let alone racist. But I know it ain't the most racist or sexist trial. I mean, that's a really offensive thing to say, actually. You know, when you think about all the different trials that have happened in this country.
Yeah, there was literally a trial on whether people should be slaves or not.
Yeah.
And the black people lost.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was more racist
100%
than this one. So I
think the mistake Cosby made was he didn't run for president soon enough, because if he'd done that, then he wouldn't have gotten.
Then he wouldn't have to deal with any type of prosecution.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
Or maybe get appointed to the Supreme Court, in which case they rush through the proceedings and maybe put you on there anyway. So I love the judge saying the day has come for you, because remember, of course, dozens and dozens of women said that he had sexually assaulted or raped them. And look, as a guy who grew up in the 1980s, still seeing him in handcuffs was a tough sight to see. And it's in that sense, it's a sad day.
Yeah,
God,
it is crazy because he had that image, right? And I think the thing that stands out for a lot of people who kind of found him questionable to begin with was the way that he addressed, certain parts of the black community and how judgmental he was about the way they dress and how, oh, pull up your pants, when in reality he was the one who should have been pulling up his pants, Like it's just crazy to see like that so-called squeaky clean image, turn into what it is now.
Yeah, it's amazing that the people who are doing the most awful things behind closed doors are the ones who want to be front and center telling people how to be moral and live their lives. Like, it's so bizarre. So like seeing him in handcuffs, it wasn't even so much as a weird thing or bizarre thing for me to see because he was like, quote unquote, America's dad. It was just like, how dare you go tour around the country telling black people how to be better black people when this is what you were doing for like 40 years?
I know.
Yeah, and you see it all the time. It's projection, and you see it in the televangelists, and the people, the biggest moralists are the ones that usually have somebody locked up in their basement.
Right.
And lately, it's actually literally been true. The former governor of Missouri, who had to step down, had a woman tied up in his basement, and he ran on family values. And,
Right.
And but I want everybody to be clear that what's sad today is not that America's dad or Bill Cosby is going to prison and God, we used to like him and it's sad for us. No, what's sad is that he did it in the first place.
Right.
And so don't lose sight of that. And it's great that justice got him because statute of limitations had run out on a lot of these cases because he'd been doing it for decades and decades. But in this trial, this was something that happened 14 years ago and the statute of limitations had not run out. And at least 5 other women got to go testify against him because it showed a pattern of what he had been doing. So they also got a measure of justice. A lot of the former victims today saying, I can't believe it's come, and you should be encouraged to come forward because this is a moment where you can see you can make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's also important to point out that it took a comedian making a joke about this and pointing this out for people to really pay attention when women have been saying this was happening to them for decades. And I think it goes back to what we were saying about listen to women, believe women when they tell you these things are happening, because then you don't have to wait 30 years to see the person who assaulted you go to prison.
Yeah, look, I don't know that the person who wrote this article is correct and what percentage, et cetera, but I feel a little proud that we made a slight difference. There was an article that came out that said Hannibal Buress made the joke, then BuzzFeed and the Young Turks picked up the story, and that's when it snowballed. So if we had a little bit to do, a tiny bit to do with bringing justice today, then that's a great day in America. They now, of course, say, oh, it should be house arrest. I'm tired of millionaires getting house arrest.
I know. No one ever makes that argument for non-millionaires. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone else gets demonized. I also want to talk a little bit about Andrea Constand's testimony. So she wrote a letter making her case, and the judge said that he had given great weight to the victim impact testimony in this case. He said that it was powerful. And so she had written the following: Bill Cosby took my beautiful, healthy, young spirit and crushed it. He robbed me of my health and vitality, my open nature, and my trust in myself and others.
And if you remember, his pattern was he would bring people into either his hotel room, his house, et cetera, and say, I'm gonna give you career advice. And they'd be so excited. Oh my God, this legendary Bill Cosby has shown interest in my career. He thinks I have potential. And then he would drug them. And a lot of times they would wake up with him on top of her, right? And they'd be like, oh my God, he never cared about me. It's not that I had potential. He just wanted to, sexually assault me. And of course that's gonna be devastating. And so that's what this justice is about.
And then one final statement from the spokesperson representing Bill Cosby, because this was an insane comment, as if the first one wasn't insane enough. He says, they persecuted Jesus, and look what happened. What? I'm not saying Mr. Cosby's Jesus, but we know. You
kind of did, though.
Yeah, you did, exactly. But we know what this country has done to black men for centuries. So again, repeating the notion that this was done as an attempt to, persecute a black man, but it had nothing to do with race.
Yeah, Bill Cosby wasn't some black person falsely accused of a crime. You have a slew of people who you did this to me, you should go. The fact that you're doing this and saying that, it actually feeds the other side when we are saying someone's been falsely accused of something or wrongfully convicted of something, when you throw an actual guilty person in there in the mix of it. That's awful.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and Clarence Thomas always said there was no racism until he got in trouble, and all of a sudden he said it was a high-tech lynching. Right. So now in the case of Bill Cosby, it's a much more of a mixed bag. He did a lot of great charitable work, to be fair to him, and to give you the full context. And he wasn't saying that there was no racism, but he did go around the country yelling at black people that they were doing something wrong. And so now for him to hide behind the idea of racism when it doesn't even apply in this case is particularly galling.
Yeah, maybe we should tell him, maybe if you'd pulled your pants up, you wouldn't be in this situation.
I'm thinking about doing a tour around the country telling him that. And they say, well, look, this was a long time ago. He's 81. This was 14 years ago. That means at the time, he was just a young 67-year-old when he did it.
What do you know at 67?
Yeah.
People can
still learning things.
People can really change, from that time to 81.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.